I go to singles mentorship class, so you don't have to. Class is in session, okay? Get your notes out. I'm 26, I don't have a boyfriend. There is no timeline, honey. Sex is good, but it shouldn't be the reason. The child could still experience the feeling of being in a broken home, even in a marriage. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Tiffany Bond, and on this channel I share my experience through adulting. I recently started adulting on my own, living out on my own, and just experiencing adulting for real. And I'm sharing everything I learned. So if that sounds like your vibe and you want to follow my journey, and stick around, subscribe and stick around. So let's get into today's video. I recently enrolled in a singles mentorship class, okay? This class is like a 9-month course on how to date and eventually marry right. Yeah, and I'm learning so much, and I just thought that I would start a series on I go to singles mentorship class, so you don't have to, and I teach you everything I learned, okay? So we're gonna start with the first thing I learned. Class is in session. Get your notes out and follow along. At the end of this video, if you like what you hear and you do want to enroll so you're getting everything from the actual source, I would encourage that too, because it's such a great class. I'm gonna leave the info on the class in the description box, and you can enroll if you want to. Highly recommend. I'm learning so much. Anyways, let's get into it. So basically, the class started with my coach teaching us. Her name is Olabisi Adamu. So her name is Prophet Olabisi Adamu. She's a pastor, and she's been married for 10 years. She's been married for 10 years. She got a lot of experience. 10 years plus of experience. Please, that's what I'm trying to learn from. So in the first class, she basically talked about foundational issues that if you don't resolve in the dating phase and you proceed to get married, even with like those issues, they will lead to problems down the road, okay? Your dating stage is like the foundation of your marriage, of like a solid marriage. So you need to like be weeding out things in your single phase, in your dating phase, because that's your foundation to build a strong marriage. If the foundation of your relationship when you're dating is shaky, or like there are certain things in your life when you're single that are shaky, it leads to a shaky foundation. It's like when you're building a house, the foundation is like so important in order for that house to like stand firmly, be sturdy and firm to withstand external factors like the weather. Okay, so she's talking about the reasons not to get married. So these things on their own, they're not bad. Like, you know, you can get married for these reasons, but if that's like your only reason to get married, or that's like the main reason you want to get married, it's not a good reason. It's basically what she was saying. So she talked about how you shouldn't get married because of pressure. You know, there are a lot of pressures, like personal pressure, that, you know how we pressure ourselves, like, oh my god, I'm in my late 20s, I'm 26, I'm 27, I'm still not married, I don't have a boyfriend, I have to hurry up. There is no timeline, honey. Or like, you know, external like pressure from other people, parents, friends, everyone around you is married, your group of friends, everyone is married, your parents is telling you you're getting older, your biological clock, everything. Don't ever let anyone pressure you to get married, not even yourself, because nobody's gonna be there if you get into the wrong marriage. None of the people who are pressuring you are gonna be experiencing that with you, okay? Everyone is gonna celebrate with you on your wedding day, and after that, after the wedding, you are in the marriage. So if you get into the wrong marriage because of pressure, you will be the one to suffer, not anyone else. The most you can do is vent to your friends, and you will go back to that home where you're unhappy. So don't ever let anyone pressure you, and don't pressure yourself. It's better to take your time and get it right than get married and get married to the wrong person and then you're in an unhappy home. It happens, and you don't want that for yourself. If you've waited this long, you might as well keep waiting until you find the right person, okay? Block out whoever is pressuring you, like block them out, okay? If the pressure is too much for you, you might need to cut them out of your life, Okay, wait for your time. We can also just talk about how, like, you know, things like your biological clock, like, we understand that, but if you're a Christian, if you believe in God, then you know that age is just a number, and that with God, anything and everything is possible. Okay, so regardless of when you get married, if God has ordained for you to have kids, if you get married in his time, then he makes everything work out in his perfect time. He will give you everything he has promised you. His plans for you are good and they're perfect. So trust him, trust his timeline, and don't rush and get married to the wrong person. Another thing we talked about was sex. Do not get married simply because you want to have sex. Because she talked about how people marry to satisfy sexual urges. Sex is good, but it shouldn't be the reason. So with all these points, none of them are bad on their own, but they shouldn't be the number one reason. For sex, she basically talked about how she's been married 10 years. So she's telling you, and she did marry right. She's very much happy with her husband. But if someone who got their marriage right and has been married 10 years is telling you not to get married because of sex, you know they know what they're saying. And she said something so funny that my dad always said to us growing up. Very, very weird. But he basically said that you will have more than enough sex and you will be tired of sex. Basically, what's that saying is, if you're getting married because of sex, like, it would be overdone and you'll be tired of it. What happens when everyone's eyes are finally clear, like you've had more than enough sex? What happens then if that's the main reason you got married? Don't get married because of sex, because after a while it would have been overdone. You would have had more than enough time to explore each other's bodies, and then what next? And then what next if that's the main reason you got married? There should be other reasons. And then she talked about how people marry because of out of wedlock pregnancies. So if you get pregnant, and then how families rush you to, like, oh my gosh, get married because y'all already got pregnant. No, like, yes, you could have that child, and yes, being from a broken home isn't like the greatest thing ever, but also being in a home where both of you are not happy and still raising that child, I promise you, children know when there's no love in a home. So don't get married because you guys have a child on the way and you don't want that child to grow up in a broken home. The child could still experience the feeling of being in a broken home, even in a marriage, even when they're growing up with both parents, because both parents are not happy. So make sure that this is your person before actually making that commitment. Another reason she said is, don't marry anyone because you've been dating for years. You don't owe anyone the rest of your life because you already wasted part of it with them. So just because you've been dating someone for like 3 years, 4 years, say, oh, okay, now I have to marry this person, because, like, where do I want to start from? Like, oh my gosh, like, we've been dating for so long. I've already wasted my early 20s with them. I've already spent 3 years with them. Now I have to marry them. So you want to give the person the rest of your life, although this is not your person, because you already wasted 3 years with them. Make it make sense. So don't do that. She said, this one is so funny. She said, don't marry or let anyone marry you out of pity or compensation. Don't use your future to compensate for anyone's help in your life. So how people, I don't know if you guys know this story of, how, like, maybe the guy helps you out and, like, pays for school or, like, takes care of you, and then now you want to compensate him with your future. Like, you want to marry him so that, like, because you feel bad because he's done so much for you. And then she said to, like, there's so many things she said here, but basically she said to even avoid the trap of feeling like you have to compensate someone by marrying them. Maybe like, oh, this person is really into me and that's why they're pouring so much, like, resources, like, they're really doing a lot for you. Like, to prevent that in the first place, to feel like you have to compensate them by actually getting married to them, don't make anyone God in your life unless you're ready to pay back with your future. So basically what she's saying is, if you don't like this person enough to, like, eventually settle down with them, don't even let them invest to that extent in you where you feel like the only way you can actually pay them back is by actually, like, getting married to them or giving them what they want. So, like, no, instead pray to God and allow God to be the one who is actually your helper. If you know you're not in love, do not give room for the person to change your life, because when they change your life, you feel like, you know, you owe them that life. Trust God to change your life. Also, she said something that I never really thought about. So growing up, I've always heard, you know, sex clouds your judgments. When you have sex as a Christian, obviously there are rules and regulations. I'm a Christian, so I've always heard, you know, it's a sin to fornicate, that's sex outside marriage. But some of the reasons God gives us these rules is not because he doesn't want us to have a good time, but sex clouds your judgments. When you're having sexual intercourse with a person, it doesn't let you think straight, because obviously like the pleasure and everything like that. But I never thought about this. But when she was explaining the point about don't marry anyone because, you know, they helped you out, she basically said gifts can cloud your judgment, money can cloud your judgment. So it's not only sex. So so basically what that means is, if you know you don't like a person enough, don't like take favors from them, you know, money, stuff like that, because it will cloud your judgment. And then you might obviously begin to like that person that you did not initially like, or you don't really like, but it's clouding your judgment. So you think, oh, okay, I can marry this person, and eventually like everything fades, you know. Obviously, yeah, the person might still be able to take care of you or whatever, but after a while you're used to the lifestyle, and then you're just like, ugh, and then you like, you know, the smoke clears from your eyes and you realize, oh my God, I gave this person my life because they could take care of me. So don't even take things from a person you don't even like in the first place. Another one she talked about is loneliness. People marry to escape loneliness. Marriage is not a cure for loneliness. So loneliness is like an emotional state of being. Okay, so you can be married and still feel lonely. It happens all the time, which is why that was actually her first point. It basically ties in with the point of like, no one can fill your cup. They can only add to what is already there. Being married and then expecting like your loneliness will go away because someone is there, is expecting that person to go above and beyond to help you not feel lonely. Instead, work on being like a whole person, like, you know, fill your own cup. Find the things that make you happy. So like when both of you whole people, when you find someone who's whole and you are whole, it makes like a beautiful union. Yeah, so don't get married because you're lonely. I know it can be lonely adulting on your own, and you know it can be lonely, but find ways to be joyful on your own. And yeah, I tried to explain the point as well as I could. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you like this kind of content. Let me know in the description box what you think. If you have any more points on reasons not to get married, if you're married, please leave them in the description box. If you're not married but you still like, you know reasons why people shouldn't get married, leave it in the description box. If this video resonated with you, let me know, and I will see you on the next one. Bye. Mwah, 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 mwah.